Hey y'all, Jason here with SE Lock and Key in Jackson, Mississippi. Welcome to the very first installment in the new series that we are doing on antique decorative hardware. Now, antique decorative hardware, I'm referring to brands commonly used on houses as early as the 30s or before, all the way up to about the mid-60s, 70s, sometimes into the 80s it was still being used. We're going to talk about the different brands, the different styles, some of the things that you'll find when you encounter decorative hardware in this series of videos. However, during and throughout the rest of the videos that we're doing, we're going to be using phrases and terms that you kind of need to know. If you are not familiar with the terminology involved in the hardware business and decorative hardware in general, stay tuned because we're going to be covering a brief summary of all the terms that we're going to be using in the future series of videos. So thanks for being here. Stay tuned. Here we go with the decorative hardware terminology. Latches. Latches are what keeps the door closed in a nutshell. There are many different brands and styles of latches. Some are cross-compatible, some are not. We're going to be talking about the differences in latches used in antique decorative hardware. Doorknobs. We're going to talk about all the different types and styles of doorknobs you might run across, some of the differences in doorknobs, how they are fastened on the door, and how well they sit in their rosettes or their escutcheons. Lever handles are used in place of doorknobs, and it makes the door easier to open typically. So we are going to discuss some of the styles, types, good things and bad things about lever handles used in antique decorative hardware. Handles is the threaded or square bar that connects doorknobs together and goes through the latch. It also activates the latch when you turn the doorknob. There are, again, many styles, many diameters or different sizes of spindles, and for your particular application it is very important to use the right spindle for what type of hardware that you're putting in. Rosettes. Rosettes, also called scutcheons. These are what the doorknob sits into, or the lever handle sits into on the door. This is almost always going to be a decorative ring or a round circle, which is the rosette portion of these escutcheons. And again, there are different depths, different diameters, different mounting styles of rosettes. Mounting hardware is usually used with rosettes. Rosettes cannot, most of the time, be attached to the door by themselves. Some rosettes do have surface mounted screws. However, many others use a particular style of mounting hardware. So we are going to go over a few of the styles of mounting hardware that you will commonly run across. The lock trim. Now, lock trim is also pretty much the escutcheon. It's just a bigger and a fancier shape than a standard round rosette. And there are, again, hundreds and hundreds of different styles, shapes, patterns, and designs of antique trim or antique escutcheons. So we're going to be going over everything from the heavy, nice, solid brass to what is available nowadays as a replacement. Mortise locks. Mortise locks are mortised into a pocket in the door. They are almost always a rectangular or a square body. And there are different styles of mortise locks. We've gone over mortise locks before in videos. We're going to re-go over them because it is pertinent to the mortise locks. You're either going to have the latch that we talked about earlier, or we're going to have a mortise lock used. One of the two is what actually snaps the door shut when you close it, and both the levers and the knobs can be used in conjunction with each other along with the rosettes. Now there are different types of mortise locks. There is the antique bit key style mortise locks. There is mortise cylinder deadlocks. There is bit key deadlocks only. Many different styles and functions. And again, we're going to go over stuff that is currently sold nowadays. And also on the mortise lock topic, we're going to talk about the Baldwin and other similar styles of the bigger mortise locks that were used with the decorative escutcheon trims. For the latch, or the mortise lock latch to fasten into on the edge of the door. And again, it's really dependent on what you are using, but there are many different styles and sizes and shapes of strike plates that were used for decorative hardware. So we're going to go over that as well. Lastly, we're going to get off into a few rim locks and some pocket door locks. Rim locks are the large square type surface mounted. This is just attached to the face of the door, or the inside face of the door anyway. So there's no cutting other than the hole for the, if you have an outside cylinder, or these were commonly used with rim cylinders, which a rim cylinder is a cylinder that's got a bar going out through the middle of the door, and it intersects with the mechanisms. Bar for the cylinder goes in right there, and your handle goes through that. All right, guys, I hope that helps you understand some of the terms, some of the things, parts and pieces that are involved with antique decorative hardware. If you have any questions about anything, make sure and leave them in the comments section. I'll try my best to answer those questions. In the meantime, part 2 or the next video that's going to come out is going to focus on minor repair and maintenance and basically lubrication of antique decorative hardware. Then we're going to delve off in future series on the different brands and some of the oddball stuff that you might find. And then we're going to finish it up with Baldwin and other commonly found items, decorative hardware. So in the meantime, we'll go ahead and go over this quickly one more time just to make sure everybody understands. The latch is what keeps the door closed. The strike is the thing that the latch goes into on the edge of the door. The rosette's that round thing behind the doorknob. It's also called a escutcheon, which is also the trim of the door. So a rosette, again, and a trim can be a escutcheon and a escutcheon. But commonly, just to avoid confusion, rosettes are round, and that helps narrow down what you're talking about. The lever handles and knobs, that's the thing that you grab to open the door. The trim, already went over that. Mortise locks, that's the old lock. That's commonly referred to as those old locks. The spindle is the bar that the two knobs or the levers are attached to that goes through the latch. Mounting hardware is the thing that screws to the door that makes everything stay together. Rim lock, that's that square rectangular box that's mounted on the edge, the inside of the door. And some of the more common terms. Tubular and mortise are the two different types of locks that we'll be referring to. Tubular is this style of latch, and mortise is the bigger bodied latch, both of which can use knobs, levers, spindles, escutcheons, trim, etc. So, lastly, privacy and passage. Privacy means that you are able to lock the outside knob from inside the door, commonly found in homes on the bathrooms, maybe even the bedrooms of doors, and it's typically easily bypassed by pushing something through a hole and opening it. whereas passage is just in out. There is no locking function whatsoever, no key lock, no way to lock it. It is simply to keep the door closed. So again, hope that helps and hope that helps, and stay tuned for the next set of videos. Thanks for being here and thanks for being subscribed, guys.